Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for the small delay there in the broadcasting. I'm going to take a little bit of fault for this one. I legitimately lost track of time and I missed getting home in time, so this one's totally on me. Yeah, so tonight we're going to be just chatting a little bit about an update for our upcoming camping trip there. Just try and bring you guys up to speed. And basically, it's right around the corner, eh, Ben?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's coming at us fast. Just got a message from Barkhouse. He's hitting the button like a 14-year-old trying to get a Twinkie. I think it's it.
Yeah, like I said, I apologize, everybody. This one is entirely on me.
I don't think you can say that. I was just seconds behind you. So
Actually, seconds ahead of me, but
yeah.
uh,
So
anyway. But yeah, coming up, not this weekend, so we will have one more episode next week. But yeah, like 2 weekends away, and it's starting to actually get pretty exciting. I got all my gear figured out. Just got my new camping tarp in the mail today. Looking forward to testing that out. Hopefully, be able to do a video on that for my other channel, as well as maybe give some insight for here. And yeah, really looking forward to getting out there, trying the hammock. Will be the first time that I've been out overnight this year. What about yourself, Ben?
not unless you consider January.
Well, I mean, yeah, okay, that's still this year, but I was thinking more like since spring rolled in.
No, I haven't been out this spring. We went out to our cabin. We've done a few things.
Mommy said that she
What's
wants your cash.
being robbed? Literally,
Oh,
you guys are witnesses.
there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You can see it there. Ben is a very good man from the bottom of his heart, giving away all his hard earned cash. Now,
Yeah.
the rest of us should line up and be so lucky. I can't figure out how to advertise this, so we're just going to wing it tonight. But yeah, so Ben, how's your.
So we're doing pretty good. Now, one of those is, I think, me. So
Okay,
that's
fair
not.
enough. So, how's your packing coming, Ben?
How's that? What?
Your packing coming? Have you gotten your gear figured out and straightened away yet? Have you tried putting it on the motorcycle? You said you were going to take a little sample
No.
ride there the other day.
Oh, I got
Uh-oh.
to mute. See, we're all behind. Okay, I think that stopped. I got the laptop so I can see comments and stuff, and apparently the sound was coming through.
Oh, and
Anyway,
you had the reverberation going on there.
I,
I thought I heard it in the background.
I didn't get my bike out over the weekend. Friday after work, I was ready. I had like most things more or less ready to throw on the bike. I had everything put in a van. My wife was going to take it down, and it was raining. And Missy's like, "I really wish you wouldn't. You just come in the van," because she was worried. Anyways,
And I mean that's fair. It's still cold out. You know how cold tires act on wet pavement.
it was pretty wet and kind of miserable, and that was the big thing. Like, it's almost 2 hours to my cabin, so 2 hours of that constant just spray off the roads, and it gets tiring. But I'm just making excuses. But honestly, Sunday when I would have come back was much worse. Uh,
Yeah, Sunday was terrible. That was heavy, heavy rain.
so I was kind of glad I didn't do it. I was a little disappointed. I really wanted to take the bike down and test a few things out. Um, I kind of have my fingers crossed. Maybe this weekend I'll get it out, but we'll see. I did get it out, completely cleaned it up. It looks way more presentable, so that's a good thing. I picked up some more stuff from the cabin to take with us. I have a spare underquilt if you want to borrow it.
Yes, that I do want to try. I looked at purchasing one, but I think I'll hold off. Perfect. And hopefully I can dig on your expertise a little bit on setting up that hexagon tarp. This is will be the first time I've ever tried a hex tarp, so maybe you got some tips and tricks for me on that one as well.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. Even if I don't really know what I'm talking about, I'll fake it till I make it. That's my
Dazzle 'em
plan.
with brilliance or baffle 'em with.
Bullshit.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
And I got a nice light sleeping bag I picked up actually for my winter trip. It says it's good to 4.4 degrees Celsius, so we won't freeze to that. But
uh,
I think it's calling for a low of 9 for
that's
our
what I was
weekend.
just pulling up was to see what the long-term forecast is going to be. But I think you're right. I think the overnight temperature is only supposed to be like somewhere between 7 and 9, depending on where we, how far the projection is off. And it's supposed to be
Uh-huh.
somewhat dry, I think. At least the
I-
long term forecast is saying that, but you know how that goes.
Highs of 19 or 18 degrees, lows of 9. Rain potentially Friday morning, but clear pretty well till the whole weekend. So if it sticks, fingers crossed, arms crossed, legs crossed, everything I can cross. If it all sticks with this weather, it should be a good trip. Like,
Yeah, that's really not that bad. Like a little bit of drizzle starting off, that won't be that big of a deal. It's not a downpour, so I think we can survive that.
yeah, I,
Um, Tricky part
I
might be fire for the first night, but I think we got enough experience between us. We can get something going, or at least I hope I do. I'll bring warm clothes just in case. That's for sure.
what did I say? If the two of us can't get a fire going, and we're just gonna close up shop and walk away.
The reality is, the two of us can't get a fire going. We're gonna be cold. But yeah, no, I think we'll be all right. I think it'll actually be a fun experience.
I know it'll be about 20 liters of gasoline we can get our hands on.
I think my tank alone holds about 20. Big tank on that bike. Huge tank.
Uh, yeah, that's about the max of mine too. It's probably about
I think
18
it'll actually
liters
be
or
a fun
so.
experience.
So I figure between the two of us, I we know should be it'll able to be get about a bit of 20 fuel if we liters of absolutely had to. gasoline. But I really don't think we're going to go there.
No.
Nor is it as easy to get out as you think. So
No. Well, eh. We just take that bike we turned on its side. I mean, we'll be all right. All right, I got all the advertising out of the way. We're good now. No, I think, as you said, as long as the weather sticks, everything being crossed, I think it'll be a good experience because going in with it being a little damp, that'll just throw. Famous last words. They'll throw that little additional push into the first night. You know what I mean? To get everything taken care of in a timely manner. And it'll kind of throw us right into it. I mean, we've said it on several shows now. Ben and I have never actually been out camping together, minus the Pojo or nothing. Robert, you have a reputation uphold. So my wife's nagging at me now, but or picking at me. Sorry. Sorry, getting back to it. Ben and I have never actually been in the woods together camping, aside from the Nova Scotia Bushcraft gathering, the very first one. So this is going to be the first time we're jumping into the woods together. We don't really know each other's styles. I mean, by talking back and forth, I think we're going to be all right. I don't see any major head clashing moments there, but still, it's always interesting going into the woods with somebody you've never been in there before, especially when you're going to be like right in the middle of the woods and there is no really. Let's say the backup plans are not as enjoyable. Like nobody really wants to get in there, something goes wrong, and then have to around walk back out like an hour or something like that into this. So, but I don't foresee any problems. I think it'll be good. What about you, Ben?
I think it's going to be awesome. I really do. I'm excited. Mildly apprehensive about a couple of minor things, but overall, between the two of us, I'm pretty confident we're going to come out of this good. My bigger worry is actually the videos.
Funny enough, I was chatting to, I think it must be Dave Lake you just said hi to, was it?
Dave Hurdle.
Oh, Dave Hurdle.
Dave,
Sorry, I didn't see that one join. I came in a little late. But I was actually speaking with Dave Lake, who's been a guest with us there before and chatted to us. I ran into him when I was heading to the fire department on Monday, and I was talking to him, and I was telling him I got my, like, I've tried putting all my gear in my bag, but the problem is all my camera gear takes up half my bag. So I'm already cutting down half of my bag with camera gear. So I mean,
yeah,
it was really nip tuck to try and figure out how I could get everything in there that I wanted to take because there is a few things I'm taking just because they're wants. They're not necessary in any way, shape, or form. I got a hand casting kit and some stuff like that that I want to take and try while we're there. But it was tricky to get it all in there. Yeah, as it is, I'm going to have to strap the sleeping bag to the top of my backpack and then try and strap my entire backpack down to the back of my bike. So, but
yeah. I'm going to be playing a somewhat similar game. And it's one of the debates anytime you're camping or you're traveling in the woods. What are you taking? Why are you taking it? Can I do without it? Should I do without it? And that's the thing is I got a bunch of camera equipment that would be great to have, and I'm sure I'm going to turn some of it and say no, it's staying. I can't take it. And then we're going to get out there and see gee, if only I had that mount or that extra camera, this would be great.
And that's where I'm kind of lacking. Like I have really having a hard time narrowing down my video equipment just for that reason. I don't want to get out there and be like, oh crap, I wish I had that. I think I've narrowed it down as much as I can get, but I still got to coordinate with you a little bit to make sure we're not repeating the wheel and doubling up on some stuff.
Yeah, and that is an important thing, and something to always consider. I think when two people are going, especially like us, we're packing at different locations. I'm used to doing it with my wife. We sit there and we'll go through our packs together and we'll make decisions. That's easy. You're there, you pack everything, you know you have it. But we're going to fairly heavily depend on each other for certain things. And where you're not there to sort of double check, the temptation is almost to pack extra, you know what I mean?
To try and compensate for the unknown, and I know exactly what you're talking about. That's where I'm having some difficulty in cutting my pack down. So at some point we are going to have a final check, if you will, and maybe that's something we can discuss after the podcast here tonight. Maybe we'll incorporate some of it into next week's, make things interesting. But
well, and no matter what we do, Thursday night, I'm sure there's going to be a phone call from one of us to the other saying, what do you think of this, or should we do this?
Oh, I figure right until almost 3 o'clock Friday, there'll be those last messages. Okay, are you sure you got everything you needed? Okay, I'll bring this.
I'll be at work, phone just beeping, bing, bing.
Yeah, I can see it now. My boss will walk in. Your phone hasn't stopped all day. It's okay. I have reasons. There's a plan.
Matt's here.
Yes, Matt joined in. Uh-oh.
Just say hi.
I think I was typing at the same time as you and it kicked me out. Anyway.
I should switch that so it's me, because otherwise it just always looks like it's us.
Yeah, that's a good, valid point. Can you actually switch that over?
There is a way. It'll take me. Now is not the time for me to figure that out.
No, good enough. I thought you might know right off the top of your head. But yeah, so nothing really new on my front. I think I've pretty much got across everything that I was thinking about bringing, minus the new tarp that just came in the mail today. But you and I have been talking about that, Ben, as well as the underquilt that I have asked Ben to take, just on the off chance that it gets cold. I don't actually own an underquilt myself. I generally rely on my my foam pad or my wool blanket. But it's something I've always wanted to try, and I am willing to drop the money on one, providing that I actually like the way they work. Because I've always been in reservation about underquilts, and I guess mini topic. You would have more experience with this, Ben. To me, it feels like you'd be trapped inside it, like you wouldn't have as much mobility around inside your hammock. Like, you know how you don't sleep straight in a hammock, you kind of turn on an angle. So does the underquilt hinder this in any way, shape, or form? Does it constrict you in any way?
I don't find it does. No. It sits underneath. It doesn't pull in on you, really. If it's set up right, it just sits underneath, and then your quilt on top just makes you a little bit more comfortable. But overall, you won't really notice it. It'll probably be more comfortable than if you had your foam blanket or foam pad underneath you or an air mattress. It'll be a lot more like sleeping just on your hammock, without anything under it, but you won't get cold underneath as much because you just have this. It doesn't have the same pull, so the hammock is already creating all the pressures you're going to get.
Okay, so and that was my other question, I guess. I suppose there's a specific way you set these underquilts up. My initial thought was, you just want to tuck it till it's touching the bottom of the hammock, but I'm assuming you don't. You want to leave a little bit of a gap in there so you trap air?
You want the sides to be tight, and the bottom doesn't have to pull up hard, but by the time you get the sides tight, it's usually pulled up against you a little tiny bit. But like I said, the forces involved between you and your hammock are much greater than anything the underquilt really puts into it. Tight, so this particular one has a bungee cord system on both ends. There's 4 cords basically per side, and I just tie them all into a knot and hook them on the ends of my hammock. That's how I do it.
Okay.
You could hook it to the tree if it was long enough, but I just hook them over my hammock, and that's about it. And you get your tension right. And if it's not quite set up right, what you will find is if you're moving around a bit, it might just pop out from underneath you. and you'll look over and there's your underquilt just floating off to the left or the right of you, and then your bum will get cold and you'll wish that it hadn't. But I've learned to do most of the adjustment while inside. I get it pretty well the way I want it, and then it's more or less a set it and forget it type thing. You don't think about it again until you set it up the next time.
Okay, that's fair enough. Now, I did have another question I was going to ask you because I was looking at some videos online, as I do when I have time on my hands, some camping videos there. Something I've seen for hammock camping, you ever heard the term snakeskins?
Yes.
What's your thoughts on those?
I have proper ones, and in fact, give me 2.5 seconds.
All right, that's fair. So a snakeskin, ladies and gentlemen, well, Ben, I'm assuming, has gone getting some. They're kind of like two nylon devices, which you kind of see coming in at a frame there, that you put on either end of your ridge line for your tarp. And when you don't, say you don't necessarily want your tarp open for whatever instance, just as you see there with Ben, they kind of slide down over your tarp and they keep it all in this nice, convenient little tube. I mean, it's the neatest thing I've ever seen, but I didn't know if it was... The video I watched on them, the guy was very laughable. I mean, he was given some really good points, but he was kind of a jokester, you know what I mean? It was one of those don't take it too seriously things. And it was right on that borderline if this guy just concocted this or if it was a real thing.
Shook?
Yeah, I think that's exactly who it was.
Okay. He's iconic for the hammocking world. Like, he is the go-to guy. I think he's actually a circus performer.
Okay, like, he was super entertaining. It was given really good points, but it was always on that verge of, okay, is this real?
No, he's got some awesome camping videos. He does some with, I think it's his brother and a couple others. But yeah, he also does some stuff on a unicycle in the woods. He's crazy.
Okay, well, I'll definitely be subscribing to him now. Shook, if you're listening, for whatever off chance, you definitely got to subscribe or you sold me. For anybody that hasn't checked it out, is that the whole thing just Shook?
Shug, S-U-G, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
If you're YouTubing hammocks, you will come across him.
And that's how I came across him. He was like within the first 5 or 6.
He's almost a bit of a legend in the hammocking world. I think he's like New Hampshire,
It didn't really say in the video I watched.
Northeastern states, anyways. Minnesota, maybe.
So his weather-wise would be very similar to ours if he's up somewhere, maybe a little warmer towards New Hampshire, but not by much. He would still have very similar conditions to us. So
yeah, they do a frozen butt hang, I think they call it, down that way, and he's involved in that stuff too. But back on our topic, yeah, your snakeskin is a tapered tube. It's smaller on one end, bigger on the other end. Usually you take 2, you hook them on either side of your hammock, and you pull them up together. They also work really good on tarps, and in fact, the set that I have here is on a tarp. These are Hennessy ones, came with my daughter's Hennessy hammock. It was a free add-on or something. We haven't used them a lot, but there's a cheaper method out there. It works almost as well. It weighs a fraction of the weight, and these don't weigh much. The next time you're in a dollar store or a superstore, doesn't really matter. Those loofahs. I assume you know what a loofah is?
Yeah, but I'm not seeing where this is going, so I'll bite. What about the loofah?
Trust me on this. I'm too much of a man to know what a loofah was before this.
My daughter's obsessed with loofahs. We can't walk by them without buying one, so we have like 18 of them or something stupid.
Okay, well, cut the string that holds them together off.
Okay.
And you end up with a long tube.
Oh, I didn't realize that was a tube material. I thought it was just like plastic or something balled up.
It's plastic, it's all tubed up, and it's a mesh, right? Well, if you cut the big white string that's usually in them out, toss it aside. You don't need that. That's useless. And then you end up with a long tube. Well, take that tube and push over your hammock or push it over your tarp, and it keeps it in a long tube. And then you can just use that to kind of keep your gear neat and tidy and off the ground.
And fair enough.
When you open up the tarp, you get your 2 ends are left out. So that's what I have here. I'll try and show you. It's kind of difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, one end is like that, and the other end, same deal. And that's the openings.
And that would be where your ridge line would be, right? Those are your 2 ridge line tie downs.
Yeah. So I tie these to my 2 trees, get it nice and tight, leaves this snake skin, like this snake-like thing, rope, up, and your hammock and your tarp are all nice and contained, and it works great. And then you just open it up. And if you're camping in nice weather, but you're like, oh, it might rain, you hook your tarp up, same way, leave it in the snake skin all night. If it starts to rain, you wake up or whatever, if it gets windy and you need the extra shelter, your tarp's already 90% set up. You get out, you just take the snake skin out, and you pin your 2 ends down, your other 2 ends. Like mine's like a diamond shape, and you're done. Like you've got your shelter. It takes a couple of seconds, really. Honestly, if you're smart and you thought about it, you've already set up a couple of pegs, and you got your rope set already. So you just hook the 2 loops on, you're done.
So there you go. Snake skins are a real thing, and they act like I said. It was borderline buffoonly brilliant, if that makes a sense, and that would make sense if he's the circus performer. So, yeah, if anybody hasn't seen him, definitely check him out. Lots of great stuff there, and apparently it's for real. So awesome stuff. Yeah, I really didn't have a whole lot for an update on this episode, ladies and gents. That's basically all I want to touch on was kind of where I brought my pack up on. We had a nice little topic about hammocks. As you can tell, that is a favorite topic of Ben and I's. We tend to come back to it a lot just because hammock sleepers are hammock sleepers. It's either the greatest or worst thing you've ever experienced. There's very, very little in between.
Yeah, and if it's shug that you found, honestly, like people check them out. Hopefully someday someone will say we're that good. They'll tell people, oh, check out, Ben and Robert. They're great. Atlantic Bushcraft.
Well, if nothing else, they're going to go laugh here with us. I mean, we have fun. Not that kind of fun, though. I mean, it's great stuff, guys. Go check it out. That's all I can say. I don't want to ruin the surprise.
This trip's going to be awesome. We're going to get out there. We're going to get a nice little... We do not have to worry about a fire ban. The world is soaked here in Nova Scotia right now. I don't know what it's like anywhere else, but everything is wet.
I was talking to Paul at the fire department. He's my buddy that works at Natural Resources in the fire center, and he said unless the weather turns drastically, we're pretty much golden, pony boy.
So here's what I'm picturing. We show up on bikes. I mean, it's already an awesome thing. Like, if I'm on my motorcycle, I'm pretty happy. So we show up on bikes, then we're going to get off, and we're going to set up hammocks. I mean, this is getting pretty good. And then we're going to have a fire. and I heard rumor of maybe some wobbly pops and some steak. Like,
there is some room at the bottom of the pack that might have been allowed for such items.
so I mean, I don't know. Like, what else could we get? Like,
I don't know. I think it's going to be a great time. Actually, have you heard from anybody that might want to come along? I know we put that open invitation out. I have not heard anybody as of yet.
Not so much on this trip, although there's... I think Matt was quite insistent that if we want to use his property, he would probably be joining us. But I don't think that's the plan for this trip. But definitely one maybe in the near future.
Was that stretch of property you and I had talked about there a little while ago?
Yeah, he said he had a piece of property he camps out on. He's building a cabin. He posted some stuff on the Bushcrafting website about his little shelter. He built a nice little 8x8 shelter.
Yeah, I seen that.
And he's let us know that we're welcome to us, me and you. I'm not going to speak for anyone else. For Matt, that's up to him. But he said he'd welcome us to drop out and check it out and use his land with proper respect and care, as I expect anyone who's going in the woods would do at any land.
Well, that is very much appreciated, Matt. I assume you're still listening there. I somehow goobered my window, so I'm hoping this is still streaming, in all honesty. But thank you very much, Matt. I will definitely take you up at some point this summer with Ben, and maybe we'll head out there and shoot some sort of other video for one of our podcasts.
Yeah, so no real subjects we need to talk about, but definitely things that might be fun to bring up. Some contingency plans might be something worth, not that we won't do it, but if things go bad, we can always talk about some possibilities of things we could do to make sure we are safe. Things to take for prep and stuff like that. I don't know if you have any ideas. You're taking your new tarp.
Yes.
Just taking the one tarp.
I'm I never go anywhere without my trusty Canadian Tire / dollar store special. That's always in the bottom of my bag. That's what I'm used to. So I always have that. That's my contingency plan if things go really bad and I need to double up tarps.
I know we're planning on taking some sharp objects to do some bushcrafting stuff with. So we have the ability to at least make ourselves comfortable. I could see potentially maybe like a kitchen shelter we may build that might also serve as a backup,
Yep.
as a possibility. And no guarantees. We'll see how we feel we get out there. We're hoping to do some fishing. So I have to pack some fishing gear,
I'm
minimal stuff.
I'm taking my hand throw line to see how it goes, and I'm going to take. We were challenged on a basic fishing kit, so that's I believe I looked it up. It's something like 9 meters of 10-pound line, 3 to 4 hooks, and a couple of pin sinkers. I think that's the minimalist fishing kit that's usually included in those Rambo knives. If you know what, we had this conversation before, and that's what this all spawned from. So I was trying to completely mimic that. So
Okay, I think I have all that here. Actually, I think I have slightly more in a film canister. If anyone remembers film.
I still have a few of those myself. They work excellent for waterproof canisters. But those are the lines where I want to try that fishing challenge. I'm also bringing a mini pole and some other things so I can actually try some real fishing and cheat. But I am going to try that. I'm also going to try and make some natural bobbers or something like that to maybe assist in that because I see with that setup, it's going to be a very much. You're not going to spin fish with it, that's for sure. So you're going to have to keep that bait off the bottom somehow would be my inkling. I don't know. I'm going to try it and play with it a little bit and see how it goes.
Well, we're near a river. There's going to be some current, so you don't really have to reel a lot in current if you do it quite right.
Hmm.
I've seen a neat trick where someone just tied it to the end of a bow and just let it in the water, so it's sort of in a current. It just rides there, and you just wait until the bow drops.
And hope for the best.
So, no, it could be fun to play with.
I want to
Um,
try some things with that. I'm into these challenges.
One of the first things I usually do when I get to the woods, I do it on searches a lot. Sometimes it upsets some people. I apologize to those people that they're so easily upset. I usually try to make myself a good walking stick anytime I get into woods. So that's probably one of the first things I'm going to do. I don't know if you're similar in that means, but taking
Yeah.
one on
Uh,
is limited.
yeah, I'm definitely not going to take mine. That's for sure. I do have a walking stick. But yeah, I'm pretty much along the same thoughts there. I like to have a walking stick just to keep myself balanced when I'm walking more than anything. For no other reason than it's just that third foot. You know what I mean? I'm clumsy to begin with. And I do
Yeah.
not want to get hurt right out of the hop.
No, it helps with balance. It's useful just to help get you around. Sometimes it helps you reach things or just comfort. It, and then in the back of my mind, sometimes I think of it as potentially as a safety thing for other things. If something does happen to be out there, I mean, it's so slim that I don't think about it too much, but it's nice to have, you know.
I suppose I never thought about that aspect of it either, but I guess it is kind of always inkling in the back of your mind. I mean, it's something. It's better than nothing.
You wouldn't want to get bashed over the head with a good walking stick. You think twice before coming back, right?
That is very true and fair, and I mean, it is the woods. Um, yeah, but after that, I'm thinking the first night's definitely going to be mostly shelter setup and hopefully wood prep if we do plan on
Yeah.
having some sort of fire.
She's going to be tight the first night
Very
because
much so.
I got to get home. I got to get home, and so 5 o'clock is about the earliest I could see me leaving the driveway. I don't know about you.
About the same. I'm going to try and be 100% packed, so all I got to do is come home, dress into something that's more appropriate, that's not work attire. Hopefully, knock on wood, the plan is to kind of strap my bike down the night before, providing it's not going to rain, or I can throw it under the tarp or something like that, and literally just get changed, hop on the bike, and get going. So I'm going to shoot for between 4:30 and 5. More than likely, probably 5, because I very rarely get out of work on time. I'm always like 10, 20 minutes late.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, even if I leave on time, by the time I get home, it's 4:30 is the best. If I still got to get changed and any last minute things I want to strap to the bike or whatever, get going and hit the road, 5 o'clock is the best case scenario. Um, and I do have to physically find a location. I mean, we've seen it on the map, and we're going to go over that again to make sure I haven't messed anything up. But we were looking at close to an hour, I think, for each of us.
Yeah, somewhere between 50 and 55 minutes, I think. I think I have a couple minutes shorter run. Go team
Yeah.
me. But it's only by
You
like
can switch
5 minutes.
Roberts. Yeah, so
But
that's cool.
yeah, so it should be pretty good. It's off the beaten path a little bit, so hopefully we won't have too many, I guess putting it politely, tourists going by that could potentially cause us problems because we are going to be going into the woods and leaving our motorcycles. We do have a plan for that, but we'll talk about the plan after the plan is no longer needed. That way, we're not giving away all our secrets. And we do have some plans with our gear and stuff like that. But I think where we're going, the risk is minimalized greatly, so that'll be good.
But for anyone out there, if you see a couple of motorcycles left in the woods, leave them alone, please.
Pretty
Pretty
much,
please.
just leave them.
Just leave.
We'd be
They're fine.
greatly appreciative as motorcycle riders, even if they weren't our bikes, that they were left alone. More so if they are our bikes, like a lot more so.
um, yeah, so I feel we're both fairly comfortable with the whole concept. We got our thoughts down. We more or less know what we're doing. I'm a little behind on the food thing from where I want it to be, and that's kind of a
I'm starting to get some dehydrated stuff. I got some jerky. I want to buy some apples over this weekend. I'm teaching a motorcycle course, but the good thing is to dehydrate apples takes about the exact same time as it takes to teach a motorcycle class. So I'm hoping I can throw some apples in the morning. By the time I get back at noon, that they'll be done. So
yeah. Yeah,
uh,
if worst comes to worst, I'll end up buying some of the stuff that I would normally have made, but I don't want to do that. So I'm planning on picking up some meat tomorrow and start dehydrating to make my own jerky. That only usually takes me about 24 hours to get it to where I want it.
I
Um,
cheated. I bought my jerky, but it's good jerky. It's homemade.
I haven't cheated yet. But if I do, it probably won't be homemade now. um, I'm looking forward to the steak. I think that's definitely a go.
Oh, I
One way.
definitely am. Mine's already a go. I got it picked out and waiting. So
Uh, yeah. So we were going to make the fishing challenge. There was a furniture challenge.
try
I
and
think
make some bush chairs.
maybe a whole sofa set, maybe a couple end tables.
The lamps are going to be the tricky part. They're just such a bugger in the woods.
Well, the problem is catching enough fireflies in your Ziploc bag to get it to light up. I haven't seen any fireflies yet this year, so I'm not even sure they're available.
So, Matthew, I'm just kind of looking through our comments. I see Matthew asked us where we're going, and Melissa actually threw up a link. I think you liked it there, Ben, or somebody liked it. Maybe I liked it. Anyway, about Snug, and it's
Oh, yeah.
Snug Murray.
Yeah.
Snug Murray? But in any case, yeah, check him out. Now, where are we going? So I think, and I guess this is as good a time as any to 100% confirm this, we are going to Shepherd Junction Falls.
Yes.
Okay, so Shepherd Junction Falls is just where Pictou County crosses into Guysborough County. Guysborough? Yeah, Guysborough County, going down the 289 highway. So I don't mind putting that out there because only the people that know where it's at are going to know where it's at, and those that don't. So by the time everybody figures it out, we'll be long gone and done. And I'm not going to narrow it down any more than that because there's only about 7 to 10 people that actually know where Shepherd's Junction Falls are. So unless you're traveling up and down the road, you happen to mysteriously hit the exact location where we need to be. I think that's about as specific as we need to get.
Well, I know Matthew's got a little dirt bike, and well,
Oh, if he wants to come, he can figure it out. You can pass that information along. Don't get me wrong. I just don't want to be putting out where our bikes are going to be parked for 2 days unattended too publicly just yet.
well, if we get bored, we can always go check on them. They may not be fully unattended.
That's very realistically going to happen as well. Because I think it's only about 25 to 35-minute walk in. That's in good weather, so I'm going to assume good weather, as we said. But yeah, it's pretty easy to walk back out, and we could actually do some crafting items along the way in and out as well. There's a couple areas in there that I got in mind, I think.
Maybe some foraging of food.
That's more what I was thinking, because you hit a couple different biodomes going through there. Like there's a very rich greenwood forest, there's some field area, and then there's kind of a marshy area, which kind of hits three separate sections down this whole same trail, and maybe we can teach each other some stuff.
So the area we will be camping, is that going to be? Yeah, I know there's a bit of a river. You say there's usually a bit of a breeze because of that.
Yep,
How far is the boggy area from that?
quite far.
Good. Okay.
It's not wet where we're going. It's nice and dry. Well, it normally is nice and dry. I don't think. I'm actually maybe debating going and taking a drive in there sometime next week if I have some time after work, just to actually see what the condition of everything is in there before we get too much of a surprise. Just where it is at the foot of a waterfall, if the water has swelled a lot, where we have had such amount of rain, I just want to make sure it hasn't swelled up to the point where it might hinder our abilities to camp comfortably. It shouldn't. I mean, once again, knock on wood, that is a lot of rain in a very short time, but still, just to be sure so we don't catch any surprises.
Yeah. Well, we can always push back a bit or move up or down, and we'll have to take things into account. There's nothing worse than your campsite flooding out, but at least in hammocks, your stuff should still be pretty dry.
And there is contingency plans there. I just kind of want to know what to expect going in, more or less, because where our time is going to be a little limited going in the first night, we're going to have to pretty much hit the ground running to get ourselves set up to make sure that we're not caught off guard by the time the sun goes down. Because I don't know about you, but I hate trying to do firewood and camp set up by a headlamp. I just hate it.
It's hard to. I'm okay with it, but it's hard to properly tie your knots, hook everything up. You don't see what you're doing, and headlamps are so shadowy. You know what I mean?
It creates blank spaces, is the way I describe it, and I just hate it. Like you said, it's doable. It's very doable. I can do it. It's just so inconvenient. That's the only way to describe it. It's just so inconvenient.
It's much more enjoyable to be able to see what you're doing and be really comfortable with how you set everything up. And then when we make up the next morning, it's going to be a much nicer start. And that gives us a full day to do the things we want to do. I mean, we have a pretty busy schedule when you think about it. Just I can spend a couple hours fishing, easy. Making a bushcraft chair easily could run us a few more hours.
Oh, I think we're going to be pushed for time if there is such a thing in the woods. I mean, I think we're just going to have to prioritize our list and go through it as comfortably as possible, because at the same time I don't want to give something an unfair try, you know what I mean? I don't want to try fishing for 10 minutes and be like, well, it didn't work. Well, it's probably not going to work with all the proper gear in 10 minutes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or it might. Maybe it will. Maybe we'll get super lucky, but
maybe we'll set it up and be able to do two things at once. Maybe we can fish while making a chair. We'll see.
And that's the thing. I think it's going to be a learning experience to see how we can balance all this stuff out. I'm also curious to see how it's going to be balanced out with somebody that's, this doesn't sound weird, as woods experienced as yourself. Once again, I usually go with Melissa. Melissa's great in the woods, and I know exactly what she's capable of, but now I'm going with somebody else that brings a whole new kettle of fish to the party. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of seeing how that's going to go together.
I hope you're not building the legend up bigger than it really is.
Oh, I'm really hoping for this, because I've just been... Yeah. I have been faking it to make it, Ben.
Haven't we all?
Yeah, pretty much. That's the story of my life. But I mean, I'm married, I have a kid and a good job, so it's been working so far. Shh.
Yeah, I better be quiet too. I think my boss might be watching this. I don't want to know that I've been faking it this far.
Oh, well, they know. I tell them every day. They just don't believe me.
No. Yeah, so we got a plan, and we're looking forward to it. Is there any questions anyone has out there? I'd like to ask that. Like, is there anything you'd like us to discuss or talk about? We got a few few minutes before we need to shut down.
Yep, for sure.
Leave the forum open there for a few minutes.
I guess prime time to talk about some of the things we need to hammer off. We're going to share a stove, I assume. Like I can bring a no, sorry, we're not sharing a stove. We're sharing a twig stove. We're going to bring each of our own butane
I thought
stoves.
one was going to bring a twig stove and the other was going to bring a
Butane
fuel
stove.
stove.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I only put one in my backpack, and I had to try and get my story straight as to why I only have one. So I have the butane stove. That's
Okay.
packed. I
And
think your gasifying stove and twig stove is probably a little better than mine anyway. You have the feed port at the top, which is just a nicety, but it's a good nicety.
okay, so I'll make sure that's packed. I'm really thinking of going with my, and I may regret this because the last time I used it, my one Tigress Molly pack, the
Okay.
Bushcraft, I think it's called. That's the one I want to take. I like the look of it. I like the feel of it. I did find it uncomfortable on one search and rescue search, so I'm giving it another try. It has a beautiful side bag that fits that stove perfectly. So that's probably the one I'm going to take and test out. It's only a 20-minute walk in, you're saying? So,
Yeah, 20 to 30 minutes. I think you and I will probably do it in a little shorter run. Um, just we're both pretty experienced in walking in the woods, so we're probably more to the 20-minute side of that.
yeah. But that depends on what distracts us, squirrel.
And that's true too. Like the downside of that is we do get very easily sidetracked.
Oh, look. Look. I think I know what that fungus is.
That tastes funny. um, the other question, I guess, is you're bringing a saw and I'm bringing an axe.
Yes.
Okay, I got my lineman's axe. I have that packed. Um,
And I really want to see with that. I'm really interested in which we use more and what our takeaway from this is. Having the two tools, I want us to both be cognizant of which tool we use and why. 'Cause-
that's the other thing I'm slowly doing is I am making a checklist to try and keep us on track while we're out there. I have a small book I'm bringing with me that is going to be the quote unquote journal, but it's really just nag notes to myself to be like, you should be doing this, dummy. But
I think I have one of those Write in the Rain books. I'm going to start trying to take that with me more often. So.
I would love to get hold of one of those. That'd be the perfect thing for what we're doing, honestly. Amazon purchase?
Oh, yeah, I think it was an add-on. Just a little tiny notebook, Write in the Rain. Pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I've seen them before. I mean, you can buy them locally, but I think they want something ridiculous, like $30 for them locally.
Yeah.
And I know they're not worth that much.
No. And these are small, like they're just like chest or breast pocket type size.
That's all you need.
Perfect for small notes, shopping lists, point items. You're not going to write a book in it. You're not going to tell your life story, but that's not the point of them, I don't think, right?
No, and that's all mine is. It's literally just jot notes to make sure I'm taking out of the experience what I wanted to take out of it going into it. Because you know yourself, we already discussed this, it's very easy to get sidetracked and distracted and miss what you actually wanted to accomplish. I am very guilty for doing that on numerous occasions.
And sometimes, though, that's what really makes the trip. Like, it's the things that go differently than you expect. It's the things that surprise you. Like, we get out there, and I can't really say anything because then it kind of changes the whole thing. But maybe we get out there and do something that we didn't expect to see, or an opportunity we didn't expect to have. So we do that. That's going to take time away from something else.
And that's very true.
Oh.
So, no, I think it'll be a good time all the way around. I'm excited for it. I know we've said that 100 times, and I'm sure there's somebody playing a drinking game to that effect. But I think it'll be good.
Someone's going to be loaded. Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else that. Those were really the important things that I had pegged off. Everything beyond that's going to be kind of our personal items. We will discuss that, but those are probably our major sharing items I'm thinking of. Camera equipment is just going to be a free for all for the most part, unless we're doubling up on some random stuff. Like I know I got my waterproof point and shoot camera I'm probably going to take, and one handheld. because it has two batteries and small SD cards, and it really does not eat a lot of battery life. So I like carrying it around, but it's not waterproof or anything like that, and that's why I take the point and shoot waterproof one. I know you have a couple action cameras.
I have my waterproof camera. I have my phone, which is technically waterproof. Um, and I do have a couple action cams. I'm going to take those out, go through them, check the batteries and all that early next week. Make sure they're all charged up. And I need to double check I have enough SD cards to actually video.
If they're just standard SD cards, I do got a pretty good crop of them. If they're
I think they're
micro SD cards, I have one or two.
Yeah, I think they're micro SD cards for a lot of it. So
I think I have
I'll
one.
I think I have a few. The one in my phone is quite large, so I know I can take quite a bit with my phone, and that's probably going to be my go-to. And we'll look at the others as kind of backup or especially shots and stuff. And my waterproof one would be more for some stills, really.
Okay. I'm going to try and bring one fully adjustable tripod, so there's no sense in two of them coming unless you have a favorite one.
I have one, but I'm not overly fond of it. Like,
Okay, then I've already allowed for it in my pack.
okay. I'm definitely not married to it, so yeah, if you got one, you can take that. I mean, I might take, like, I'm shooting this on my phone, and I have a little tiny tripod.
Yeah, you
Doesn't
may
take-
want to grab that. Mine is just literally it'll only take the threaded base. So
And it's this one. I'm gonna. Yeah, no, it doesn't go on a threaded base or anything, but it would allow us to stick the phone in a tree or something if we needed to for a quick snap of something or.
okay, that's perfect. I'll bring the full size one. You bring your small one, and that kind of gives us multiple options to be able to.
I feel like I have one of those gorilla ones laying around here too.
Oh, the ones with like the octopus arms and stuff on them.
Yeah, but the phone doesn't have a screw-in thing. You know, I can't. So attaching it is kind of tricky. This thing has a big spring clamp, like a seat clamp type thing to grab the phone. Yeah, so we got that. We're going to learn quite a bit about videography in the woods for YouTube. This is an area that I haven't really specialized in. I know you've got a bit more experience than me on this with your budget bushcraft site.
And I do want to shoot one or two videos for that too, because that's one of the reasons I purchased the tarp.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that's a separate project.
It looks like a pretty good tarp. You sent me a link.
Yeah, the one we had originally talked about, it went out of stock, so I had to make an emergency purchase of another one. And the price you probably seen that one at, I got for significantly less when I bought it. So
Okay.
I think it showed you at $119.
Yeah, about 120.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I paid $49.99.
Oh no, then I'm really impressed. Yeah, no, that looks like a solid tarp.
It was less than $55 delivered with taxes. I can guarantee you that. But yeah, the second I bought that one, it went out of stock. And then the next day he put some back in stock, and they're $120. I'm like, glad I got it when I did.
Yeah, so that's going to be really interesting. And anyone who's following us, I'm going to take. I think this is my tarp. I'm going to take my one Tigris tarp, I think. And it's a beautiful little tarp, and I paid a similar amount of money. It retails for similar. It's around the 120 mark, and it went on for like $50.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with this one. It's and I mean, you would probably know more by seeing it, but it looks like the ripstop material where it's got the individual squares. The tie outs seem fairly well tied in. I mean, it's right around what I'd expect for that $50 to $100 price point.
Yeah.
It's all double stitched. It's all seam stitched. It's got the edging properly put on it. It's not weird and wonky. I mean, I was genuinely impressed when I looked at it. It came with some stakes and some rope, but I mean, those were definitely the cheap add-ons they just throw in for niceties. But I mean, they're still I guess they're tie down stakes. The rope I'm probably gonna turf and replace with 550 paracord or something. But
Yeah.
I mean, it was good for what I paid. I am very happy with the purchase, and at the price I paid, I figured it could go under the budget side of things as well, because a $50 tarp is about where I was shooting for. We discussed that.
Yeah. So yeah, I would be very interested in comparing yours to mine. what we like about one, what we liked about both of them, what we may dislike about one or the other, or if there's nothing we dislike. I really hope there is nothing that we dislike about it, but it'd be great to do a comparison and stuff and really give people a feel of what's available and what we look for. Um, and I'd really like the feedback what other people look for and why they would like what we picked or why they would dislike what we picked, so we can think how they think.
And that's the beauty of this whole trip in my mind is we're going to have a ton of material for doing podcasts or individual videos and stuff like that. I think it's just going to be a giant, or at least I'm envisioning it. Maybe I am way off in dreams of grandeur here, but we're hopefully when we come back, we will have a wealth of pictures and videos and stories and stuff that we're going to bring back to the podcast and to our YouTube channels and to some of the groups like Nova Scotia Bushcraft or even our own page, Atlantic Bushcraft. And like, that's what I'm hoping we get out of this, because that's ultimately why we do it, right? Would you get out there to expand our knowledge and to tell some fun stories?
Yeah, I definitely get a lot of it on our page because we can grow our page and work our page, and I think that's going to be a good add to it. So I think we've covered what we need to. Nobody seemed to, or mine's froze. No one's come up with any additional comments, questions, anything they need. So
Yeah, I don't got anything there on my end either. So I'm going to say that maybe we wrap it up there, and next week's topic will be announced in the near future.
yeah.
After we discuss it. So
Good
that's
night,
it.
everyone, and happy camping. It's the weather's starting to turn, so get out there now and enjoy.
Yes, and just to add on to the tail of that, the offer is still open for anybody that would be interested in potentially joining us for this camping adventure or another one in the future. Just get a hold of us. I'm always willing to try and get out and play in the woods, so I think, Ben, you'd be as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as long as I don't have big plans already.
And that's the thing, as long as life allows, for sure. But yeah, give us a shout. It is podcast atlanticbushcraft.ca or atlanticbushcraft.ca/podcast. Either one, you will get us to either our page or our email address. Feel free to contact us through any of our mediums. We're always checking them. We're excited to see your guys' messages, comments, and other things. We love hearing from you. The feedback we have had up till now has been fairly positive, so hopefully we're doing something that you guys are at least somewhat interested in, or at least humoring us. And I, for one, greatly appreciate it, and I know Ben appreciates it, so hopefully we continue to see you in the future. Sorry, I cut you off there at one point, Ben. What were you saying?
No, I'm just agreeing with you.
All right, too cool. That's it for me. Have a good night, everybody.